Kira was surprised and taken aback by the message from her father, whom she had not seen or heard from since she was 4 years old. His message explained that he had left Kira's mother for another woman, had been living in Australia with his new family, and had been financially supporting her grandmother, who had recently passed away. Her father had made arrangements to leave their old apartment and some belongings to Kira. He had taken care of all the necessary documents and powers of attorney and had engaged a lawyer to assist with the process. Additionally, her grandmother had left a will for Kira before her passing. Kira would need to get in touch with the lawyer to find out what steps to take next. Her father had covered all the expenses associated with this, and Kira would only be responsible for local duties, taxes, and the costs of re-registering the apartment. There was also the important matter of maintaining her grandmother's grave and erecting a monument. This sudden message from her father brought forth a mix of emotions for Kira. It was a lot to process, and she would need to decide how to proceed with this unexpected inheritance and connection with her father. Kira felt a mixture of emotions as she processed her father's message about the unexpected inheritance of an apartment. She was hesitant to inform her mother, Jane, or anyone else in the family until she could verify the information for herself. The small two-room apartment that they currently lived in was cramped, especially with Jane and her 2 sons sharing a single room. Having her own place would be a significant improvement. Kira had some savings set aside for a potential down payment on an apartment. If this inheritance turned out to be true, it could be a game-changer for her. She knew she could manage to take on a mortgage and perhaps afford a studio or a small apartment, even if it required some tight budgeting. However, she needed to be cautious and make sure this was not some kind of scam or trick. She confirmed the lawyer's information and agreed to meet with him the following afternoon. As Kira considered the possibilities, she couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope and excitement at the prospect of a new beginning in her own place, away from the cramped living situation with her mother and her sister's family. She was determined to proceed with caution, but also with optimism about this unexpected gift from her father. The meeting with the lawyer was set for the next day. Kira couldn't help but dream of the possibilities that having her own apartment could bring. She imagined having her own space, free from the noise, chaos, and constant interruptions of family life. She envisioned relaxing baths, enjoying her morning coffee without disruptions, and creating beautiful interior designs from the comfort of her own home. Her new apartment could be a sanctuary for her personal and professional life, and she couldn't help but smile at the prospect. Before she allowed herself to get too carried away with her dreams, Kira reminded herself to remain cautious. She needed to thoroughly verify the information provided by her father and the lawyer, ensuring that this was a legitimate opportunity. With these thoughts in mind, she met with the lawyer the next day, a middle-aged man dressed in decent clothing. Kira was ready to learn more about the apartment inheritance and the necessary steps to secure her future. She hoped that this meeting would provide clarity and allow her to make an informed decision about her father's unexpected gift. Kira explained to her mother the details of her father's message, how he had left the apartment to her in his will and how it was being legally transferred. Her mother, however, didn't react with much enthusiasm. She questioned why her father was involving Kira and going through all this trouble. Kira responded, "I'm still his daughter and I'm his wife, even though I'm his ex-wife. All questions about the property should be solved with me." She tried to convey that this apartment was originally her grandmother's, and her father couldn't come to inherit and sell it. Kira hoped her mother would understand the situation and that it was a positive opportunity for her. Her mother, however, seemed to have reservations about the situation. It remained to be seen how her mother would react to the news and if she would be supportive of Kira's inheritance. "There's nobody here to entrust it to, so he devised this plan for me to handle everything and have my grandmother's apartment at my disposal." "What do you mean? On what basis did you assume the exclusive right to control this apartment?" The girl was taken aback, saying, "This is my inheritance, and Jane, along with her children and I, are strangers to you. You may not be strangers to me, but you don't have any connection to my dad's mother, aside from being an ex-wife. He left you an apartment during our divorce, mostly his property, and paid alimony for my support. There's no reason for him to provide for my sister, who isn't related to him, let alone her husband and children. I had to sacrifice my personal life when Jane quickly became pregnant, bringing her husband to our home. This forced me to share a small room with you. I couldn't even invite friends over. I'm already 25 years old and I long for happiness. What would you have me do? Keep living in these cramped conditions?" Jane, unlike me, chose not to forego her personal life and found a husband despite not having her own apartment. They're struggling financially, and I once considered moving to a rented apartment. But now, I decided to save money for a mortgage. I might have overreacted. Now I'm finally in a position to resolve all my issues and leave this communal apartment. So yes, Mom, I intend to move out. I'll check out, reassign my share of this apartment to you, and live on my own. I even had dreams about the possibility of exchanging our respective apartments for a larger one. We can arrange a place where everyone will have their own room. One for you, one for me, and two for Eva and her family. There are a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, we won't get as much for our apartment to buy a 4-bedroom one. And secondly, it's just a temporary solution. Eventually, I'll find myself back in a similar communal apartment, only in a separate room. And Jane will likely have more children, making it even more cramped for all of us. Instead, how about you settle Grandma in the apartment and let me have the 2 rooms there? I understand that it's just 2 adjoining rooms, but in the end, it will still be a communal apartment, just for the 2 of us. Jane will eventually take over the entire apartment, and I'll go back to living in constant tension, unable to invite my friends over. I don't want that, Mom. I really don't want it, but you're not alone. Ira has a husband and 2 kids. I don't have a husband or children, and I don't want to live in such a situation. Kira's frustration led to her outburst. Jane must have inherited her father's temperament, which might be why he agreed to move into a communal apartment with her. Sometimes it feels like God is unfairly testing me. I struggle to find a partner to simply spend time with, let alone thinking about marriage. Bringing another son-in-law into our home was out of the question. And finding a groom with his own apartment didn't seem to be in my destiny, Mom, Kira responded, a touch of frustration in her voice. Grooms with their own apartments seem to be either models or rich women with dories. Unfortunately, I didn't find success of either type. However, now I've decided to find a decent guy for myself. There will be plenty of prospects when I have my own place. I'm not too old, and I also dream of being with my husband and having children. Let's not make things worse. I won't change my decision. Kira took her seat at her desk with her laptop, donned her headphones, and turned her back to her mother, who had a grim expression. Her mother switched on the TV and found a popular talk show that her eldest daughter detested. She cranked up the volume, even though she knew it would be hard to focus with her headphones on, and stared blankly at the screen without really comprehending the host's words. Salty tears of frustration welled up in her eyes. Dear listeners, if you enjoyed the story, please leave a like, write a review, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for listening.